Good morning and happy Wednesday to you. I hope you're having a good day so far. But before we talk about the main topic of today's video, we are briefly going to mention the impeachment hearings that began yesterday. So, yes, they began the second impeachment of the former 45th president now, Donald Trump. And I'm going to kind of give you my shocking, I guess you would say, reaction to it. And that is, well, I'm not really shocked because I don't care. I don't care about this impeachment one bit. I didn't care about the first one. I couldn't care less about this one. And I'm going to tell you why. The same people who said we need to move on from President Trump, the same people who were trying to get us those past 4 years to, stop supporting this guy and get rid of him, stop talking about him, so on and so forth. They're now the same exact people who can't seem to stop talking about him, who can't seem to just let him go. So that's kind of my brief kind of initial take on it. And I know someone's probably going to be jumping out of their seat going, oh my God, you have such memory loss, convenient memory loss. You don't want to talk about how he incited the riot, the protest, the insurrection, the coup d'etat, whatever it is. Listen, he didn't. Plain and simple, he didn't. And if you want to now say, oh my God, he did, I can't believe you're supporting his rhetoric. Listen, I'm going to throw it back in your face right now. Democrats, not only in the year 2020, because you can find countless examples of them saying there should be unrest in the streets, making people feel uncomfortable, so on and so forth, but date all the way back to 2016 when Donald Trump won his first term, they were going nuts about how you should get in the face of people that work in that administration, make them feel uncomfortable, make it so that they're not welcome, so on and so forth. So there was violence or violent rhetoric, whatever it is you want to call it, that was really being spewed out of Democrats' mouths for the past 4 years. So all I need to say now is the violence came full circle and it came to your doorstep. So you were in your ivory tower the last 4 years and people were having chaos, off in the distance. And you said, well, it can aid us politically, so I don't really care. It came to your doorstep. So I don't want to see the crocodile tears now. Don't care about it. That's my take. Let me know how you feel about it. Couldn't care less. Here's the underside of my chin. But let's talk about some serious stuff that actually affects average everyday Americans. Right? Figured it would be worthy to talk about. And that's taxes. Oh, yeah, that's right, taxes. And I know someone's probably going to be like, you right-wingers, all you do is care about taxes. You don't care about anything else. Just go back in your car seat. Listen, the adults, we're going to have a conversation. We'll let you know when we've arrived at the destination. But the reason why we care so much about taxes is not because we want to one day have a pallet of money, as I'm pointing to my living room behind me. I don't want a pallet of money sitting in my living room that I could just sit on the couch, sip a beer, and, just say, wow, I really made it in life. I have a pallet of cash in my house. No. The reason why we're so against taxation and really the excessive taxation that we have in today's society is because we look at it as it's the biggest barrier that really doesn't allow individuals to move up into that next step, move up into that next category economically. And I can't deny that there's people who really did get a bad shake at life where they were born into, just a family who didn't have a lot of wealth. They living in a pretty poor area. So it's tougher for them to climb out of that particular situation. So when it comes to the excessive taxation that we have, well, we view that as that's keeping them down purposely. Why? So that every election cycle, the politicians that always say they want to help them, well, they constantly have someone that has to vote for them. That's just our particular take on it. We view it as if you lower taxes and you get the government out of people's lives, you're going to allow individuals to prosper and really to grow to levels that you've never seen. They're never going to grow with the government. They need to do it individually. And that's just our take. So that's the initial kind of take regarding taxes. We're going to have a brief little detour. We'll talk about it a little bit later. And here's our little detour, just a little humor. So you can see, right, you got the tax man and you got death showing up saying they need to see somebody. So it reads, it's death and taxes here to see you. Taxes wants to come in first. So yes, if you haven't heard or you don't already know, we do have an inheritance tax. It's sometimes referred to as a death tax. And yeah, even when you're leaving this world and moving on to another, if your family or someone wants to take over your possessions, you got to pay up to the government. Just one of the many ways you can find plenty of videos on the internet really talking about how every little step of the way the government is getting money from you in some form of a tax. So just kind of pointing it out there. But now moving on to, some more serious stuff. So this is a particular article, and I will say a buddy of mine, I was actually talking to him earlier today, and he mentioned this particular topic that we're going to chat about. And he said, you should look it up, make a video about it. So if you're seeing this, buddy, this one's for you. But it goes on to say, this was back in March when this particular article was written, and this was when some of the Democrats were still, in the running to be the Democratic nominee. So they were proposing an FTT, which is a financial transaction tax. So if you're into stocks and whatnot, well, they have it to where you have taxes that you have to pay whenever you sell the position. So it could be long-term, could be short-term capital gains. But an FTT would make it to where anytime you just buy a stock, you would have to be taxed on it, and a percentage would go to the government. So this is why we're chatting about this. In this particular article, I think it's it's at the start of the second paragraph. So if you can't see it, I'm going to read it a little bit for you. But it goes on to say that FTT proponents highlight that it's a progressive tax system, so the rich would pay more, right? You always love to hear that. And it's voluntary by nature. So if you don't want to pay this tax, well, don't trade stocks. And this is what really pissed me off, because the stock market, whether you hate it or whether you love it, it's really single-handedly the biggest multiplier of people's wealth. So even if people don't actively trade, when you have 401ks and Roth IRAs and all this retirement stuff, people invest in the stock market. So it really is one of the biggest ways that individuals can lift themselves out of their financial situation and make it to where, if in the case of retirement, well, they can retire and not have to worry about how much money they have in the bank, right? So on and so forth. So to hear somebody say, well, it's voluntary, so if you don't want to get taxed, just don't trade stocks. That is like single-handedly like like eye-opening to where this is what they think about you. They don't want you to climb out of your particular financial position. They want you to stay down. They want to keep you down, and they want to have all the money for themselves. And like I already said, it's politicians sitting there saying, we don't want you to become independent from us. We always need you to vote for us. So no, we have to keep you down. Sorry. Like, this is my take, but when I read this, I was like, you got to be kidding me that more people can't see through this. And I think that this is like one of the most evil things I've really read in a while. And I'm not trying to be, like hyper sensationalized. I'm just really trying to say, the stock market is a place where people really can make themselves better in terms, economically. And when you have people saying, well, we're going to impose a tax, and really it's going to make it now to where the little guy, they want to try and climb up. Nope, you got to stay all the way back down there. And that's where I'm kind of arriving at my position in regards to taxes, where I want individuals to prosper on their own. I don't want the government holding people down. I want it to where if individuals want to go out and make a ton of money, they have the freedom to do so. If individuals just want to work that whatever that primary job is, and they want to have a little extra money on the side, a little extra cash flow, I want them to have the ability to do that. And I think that having all these taxes is really just a big roadblock into where it purposely keeps people down, kind of so on and so forth. And the last thing I'll kind of mention is in regards to foreign aid, right? This is taxpayer money, so this is why it's relevant. Maybe if we didn't send millions and billions of dollars overseas, maybe we wouldn't have to have government officials raise taxes, right? Just a thought. Maybe if we didn't send $10 million to Pakistan for gender programs, or, $50 million to other countries to fund their military operations and stuff like that, right? Maybe if that money was, instead of foreign aid, domestic aid, maybe then we would actually have enough money, because we are freaking taxed to oblivion as it is. But maybe then we would have money to pay for everything that these politicians are proposing. Just my thoughts. But taxes, yeah, it's never going to go away. It's always something that we're constantly going to hear about. And kind of the last thing I'll mention is, there's a lot of people that are pro Joe Biden. That's the whole reason why they voted for him. And they said, hey, we need to make it to where individuals that make over 400K, they get taxed, right? Something to that effect. Here's why you should be against this. So hopefully you're making it this far in the video. But the reason why you should be against this is because how inflation works, well, eventually our incomes are going to increase because of all the money we printed. So I'm not saying we're going to have a base salary of 400K, but we'll probably eventually get there at this rate. And 400K today isn't going to be the 400K of tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to be a numeric value. It's not going to have the same purchasing power. But if we actually impose these taxes on the rich, right? The tax on people with higher incomes, when inflation kicks up, and you have more people falling into that particular tax bracket, they don't have the same purchasing power, but they have the same numerical value, in their paycheck. Is this particular tax ideology or this tax plan, is it going to increase with inflation, or is it going to stay there? it's going to stay there. You want to know why? Because it's more people that they get to tax, which means with your already less valuable money that you happen to be in this higher tax bracket, right? Because you have a higher numeric value, you're going to have less money to purchase goods, all because they say, well, it's to tax those that are wealthy now. Well, again, like I said, if inflation kicks up and you fall into that tax bracket, you're going to have a pretty hard time when you already are struggling to make ends meet because our dollar is so already undervalued. But then when you have the government taking more because now you're a high income earner, maybe then you'll realize, unfortunately, the hard way, why you shouldn't allow the government to raise taxes, even if it's just a little bit now, because down the road, it's really going to make a big effect on you. So let me know what your thoughts are in regards to taxes. Never going to be something that goes away. You're always going to hear about it. But hopefully I kind of opened up your eyes to not the evil side, what like so many people on the left say. Oh, the people on the right, they just like low taxes because they're evil. They don't want to help the poor. It's actually the complete opposite. We are very much in favor of helping the poor. We just have a different way that we arrive at helping them. So I appreciate you sticking through the video, and I hope you'll be back again for some more sometime soon.